Hi, I'm the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson III here with our morning meditation. Every week, we try to offer inspirational and encouraging messages that we hope will inspire you during the course of your week. We are aware that as life does often fall on us and we find ourselves challenged with so many things, it's really important to hear a word or hear messages that will help us along the way. So, we hope this message actually does just that, inspires you and encourages you. Now, today's morning meditation is entitled To Them That Wait. To Them That Wait. I have a confession to make. I uh, don't like to wait. I don't know. It's something about going to a restaurant. It's one of my glitches, one of the things I really need to work on. But to wait in line, to be on the waiting list, to find myself in a place where I'm required to wait to eat or to do something that I have every intention of doing, but I have to wait on it, it's really difficult for me. Now, I've learned something about waiting that the more I try to push back on it, the more life experiences. And as my mother and my father and grandparents used to say, don't tell God what you won't do because that's precisely what God will do because God has a sense of humor. Well, maybe if you're like me, waiting is a challenge for you. But I want to talk a little bit about why waiting is really important for us and for those of us who find ourselves trying to make do in life and find ourselves more impatient than ever in the midst of our challenges and our difficulties and all that is happening around us. To them that wait is about understanding that there is something at the end of the waiting. Waiting can be difficult. It can be challenging. It can force us to have to kind of sit on our hands and wait on the sidelines until other things that are out of our power materialize in order for things to work out the way we hope that they would. But I think there's more to waiting just than delay. It is important to wait. And for those of us who find ourselves now on the this other end of life, we are different than we were when we were quite much younger. But we discover that waiting has something that is helpful for us as we journey. Waiting is a time, a special time in our lives that provides several things. Waiting is a time, first of all, of preparation. You know, when you have to wait, sometimes when you're in the middle of those moments, you're glad if you've lived long enough to know that you had a little extra time to get yourself prepared for what was about to come. And if you had to run into it without waiting, you would have forgotten something, left something behind, or been sorely ill prepared for what it is that you would face if you did not have a moment to wait. I can't tell you how many times I was ready to go and take a bus or public transit, and I knew I had a little more time, and I remembered that I left a key, or I remembered that I walked out of the door of my home and forgot to turn off a light or unplug something or take something off of the stove. I remembered because I was forced to wait, and in my waiting, it gave me time to prepare, to reflect. And in these moments of our lives, when everything seems to be moving so quickly, technology has you do things quicker than you ever thought before, it's important that we have some time to prepare. I was watching something on television. I think Coach K from Duke University. I went to Duke, and I love my Blue Devils. They are great. Yeah, thank you for all of you who don't like that, but there you go. And Coach K was asked about his team some years ago that while they were good, they were struggling through a stretch. And what Coach K said is that we need some time off so that we can get away from the travel and playing games because we don't have enough time to practice now because our schedules are so tight. In other words, we need time to wait so that we can prepare. We need time to think about, go back to the details, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the things that are most important, and waiting provides us that opportunity. Waiting is also a time of patience. It is a time that requires for us to exercise something that many of us, like me, have too little of: patience. Patience is one of those things that someone says it's a virtue. It is one of the things that is salient to the human mind, human spirit, the human heart. It is patience. Patience causes us to be able to start to reflect and think that things don't have to show up for us right that moment. They materialize over time. And patience is required in waiting. I need to wait. I need to exercise some patience because if I don't, I will think that everything has to happen on the schedule for which I've placed it. And the question I have for you and for myself: how many things have actually happened according to the timeline in which we designed them to happen? Most likely, not many. Patience requires us to be still long enough to allow for things to materialize and to show up as they ought. Just because I'm hungry doesn't mean that an apple should automatically appear. When I was growing up, I remember watching sitcoms all the time. I loved those sitcoms. And one of my favorites was I Dream of Jeannie. And Jeannie could do a little thing, wiggle her nose, blink her eyes, and she could move quickly. At that time, we could not imagine how quickly you could be at one place or another. So it was magical to watch her make things appear just because she wanted to. But my friends, that's not the way life is for us. And the danger in having things appear just because we want them to, we discover that even though they may have been there for our convenience, the quality of the thing lacks tremendously. In other words, you can have an instant apple, but the apple won't taste like much because it didn't take time to mature and to grow and to become what it ought to have. In other words, material things happen that way, but so is that way with relationships. So is it that way with our careers. So is it that way with our dreams, our aspirations, and even with our own selves. Patience is a part of waiting. Waiting is also a time of purpose. It helps us to redefine what's really important. It helps us to see the things that we thought were important one moment are not very important a year from now. And the things that we thought we could not live without, we know now we can't even live with. It is the purpose of waiting that allows us to be able to let time pass just a little bit in order for us to get our priorities straight so we can understand our purpose and what the purpose of other people are, other circumstances are, or situations are in our lives. Patience, purpose, preparation, presence. Yes, waiting is a time of presence. We move so quickly that we are either in the past moment or in the next moment trying to prepare for what's coming next. And we very rarely allow ourselves to be present in the moment that we are in. I mean, can you imagine that everything has been prepared for you and you miss the moment you're in? I've told this story before. I read it somewhere in a book. I think April Britt Chole wrote it in describing going to East Asia or somewhere in China, Japan. I can't remember the place where she was, but there they had a 26-course meal. And so she sat down. They went on an excursion, decided to have a great meal, to experience a 26-course meal. And while they were in the first course, she ate a little bit, thought it was tasty. But after a while, her being an American, decided that she would wait and save her tummy for the main course, the main entree. She considered everything else an appetizer. What she didn't know, and she expressed later, is that in the mind of the cook and the mind of the chef, every meal was prepared as if it were the entree. And so that by the time she figured that out, trying to go back and sample the things that had been prepared, it was cold and it wasn't at its best. because in her mind, she thought she was waiting for something later, not knowing that the best was put before her right in her present moment. How many of us have found ourselves in that place where in which we're waiting for something to happen, waiting for the better to come, and missing the moment that we're in where the best has presented itself? This is the one life we're given, not promised tomorrow and not promised next week or next year. This is it. The divine chef, I would say, God creates the moments in which we allow ourselves, and we are in rather, and allows us to make a choice of whether or not we will enjoy the moments we're in as our main entree, or we'll skip by it as if it didn't matter, looking for something else only to discover that the something else may not be better than the moments we were in. Many of us look back nostalgically at what life would have been and could have been, and how many missed opportunities we've missed, we've let go by or slipped through our fingers, and we have to rely on pictures that we've taken in our cell phone or memories that someone recalls about moments that we were living in but didn't appreciate while we were in them. I hope that in the midst of your moments that you take time to be present. And waiting is one of the things that presents an opportunity for us to have presence in this world. Well, I'm pretty much done with this message, but I may have to come back with a part two because I want to remind us that while we wait, we should wait before we speak. We should wait before we act. We should wait before we decide what to do. And in these moments in our lives, waiting is required, and it is such a gift if you take your time. To them that wait, there's a scripture that says, for those that wait, for he or she that waits, um, they shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They should run and not grow weary. They should walk and not faint. In other words, it's important to know that waiting has a byproduct, a reason, a blessing on the other side of that. Then when life gets difficult, when it's at its darkest moment, and when life is so hard that you don't think you can make it, it's important to note and hold on to the idea of waiting, because something good will come on the other side of it. Don't get too anxious. Don't get too nervous. Don't be too impatient. Don't be angry with others around you just because things are not happening in the time in which you want. Wait. As the scripture says, wait on the Lord. Be of good courage. God will strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Waiting is important. To those who wait, you'll discover your purpose. You'll discover a time of preparation. You will discover a time of presence. You will even discover a time that allows you to endure and be patient. It is in those moments that we are able to recover balance in our lives simply by waiting. All right, that's the message. I shared it, went too long. I hope that you're inspired and encouraged. We want you to know you're loved, you're appreciated, and you're irreplaceable. Have a great day, have a great week, have a great life. It's the one life we're given. Live it and be embraced by it and embrace it as you journey. Take care. Bye bye.